everyone, this is Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make a vintage granny square like this and then turn it into a scarf. Now I know these are real popular right now and I've gotten tons and tons of requests for this pattern. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make the vintage granny square, and then I'm going to show you how to turn it into a scarf and a blanket and some other things. And it's a really great basic granny square pattern. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link in the notes underneath this video. To make the vintage granny square, you're going to need some of your leftover worsted weight number 4 yarns, and I'm going to be using these 3 colors for the center of my granny square for the demonstration. And then you'll need some black that's worsted weight 4 also. Now for the demonstration, because the black is so hard to see, I'm going to go ahead and just use this cream color just so you can see what I'm doing on the end and how to attach them together. We're going to be using an H hook today, and the H is a 5.00 millimeter crochet hook. You're going to need a needle to weave in your ends because with changing colors often, we're going to have a lot of ends to weave in, and then of course you'll need your pair of scissors. Our vintage granny square measures 5 inches by 5 inches, and so you'll need to make 12 granny squares so that you have a nice long scarf that's 60 inches long. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to begin with orange for the center of my granny square, and I'm going to chain 5. I'm going to form this chain 5 into a circle, so I'll take the tail of my yarn and put it on my hook and pull it through. Then we'll snug that down till we get a nice little circle, and we'll make that stay knot so that our circle stays put. All right, so now we have a chain 5 circle. We're going to put our hook through, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. Now we're going to double crochet 2 more times, yarn over, go in the circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and go through the second 2 loops. That's a double crochet. All right, let's make another one. Oops, there we go, and chain 2. So now we have 3 double crochets because our chain 3 counted as a double crochet, and chain 2. So we need to crochet 3 more sets of 3 double crochets, chain 2. There's 1. There's 2. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sets of 3 double crochet, chain 2. We're going to join to the top of our chain 3 with a slip stitch. So we'll go right in that stitch, pull a loop through, and then pull that loop through the loop that's on our hook. So there's our row 1. All right, we're going to do row 2 now. So we're going to cut our yarn and leave yourself enough so you can weave that in. I'm going to take the second color I'm using, which is blue. And of course, you can choose any colors that you want. All right, so I've snugged that down. I'm going to turn my work I'm going to go right in that first chain 2 space and stitch 3 chains. All right. Now again, this chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So I'm going to stitch 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to stitch 3 double crochets in the same chain 2 space. And chain 2. So we have 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, because our chain 3 here counted as our first double crochet. So in our next chain 2 space, we're going to stitch 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then a chain 2. Three double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2. And we'll repeat this in these next 2 chain 2 spaces. There's the third corner. Now I'm going to do the last one. Whoops, got a little string there, didn't I? It happens. All right, there's 2 and the third double crochet. We're going to chain 2, and again we're going to join to the top of our chain 3. So I'm going to put my hook through. We'll stitch a slip stitch, snug it down, and cut our yarn. Now, one thing you need to do at this point is decide, do you want this to be your front or this? It doesn't matter, it's up to you. And then make sure when you do all your tie-offs that you've got them all on the same side of your granny square. And this is how row 2 should look for our granny square. All right, we're ready for row 3. We're going to do it the same. We're going to put our yarn on our hook, pull it through, and turn. Now it's very important that you do the color change before you do the chain 3, or you'll end up with that first 3 chains in the wrong color. And we want them to be the right color because it counts as the first double crochet. So there's our first double crochet. And we're going to make 2 more double crochets in this chain 2 space. And then we're going to chain 2. Then we'll go to the corner, and we'll do the corner the same as the corner from the previous row. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Get in there. Chain 2. All right. And this is the way that row 3 will be. We'll have a side chain 2 where we'll put 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then we'll have a corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and chain 2. All right, so now I'm on the side. I'm going to stitch 3 double crochets in this chain 2 space. Chain 2, and I'm back to the corner. And so I'm going to stitch 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And you'll notice when I'm doing a corner, I sort of push those first 3 double crochets down, and that just gives me a little bit of room to get those next 3 ones in the same chain 2 space. Chain 2. See, we've got a side and a corner and a side and a corner. All right, let's finish up row 3, repeating what we just did 2 more times. All right, last repeat. 3 double crochets in the first chain 2 space on the side, or the only one on this row. The next row we will have 2. All right, I'm in that last corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Alrighty. So I've decided I want all my strings on this side. So I'm just going to push those through to that back side there. That way I can weave them all in on the same side. Alright, so I'm going to join again to the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch. And cut my yarn. And this is the way row 3 should look. We finished row 3, and now it's time to add the black trim so that it looks like the vintage blankets and afghans that this pattern is inspired by. But black cannot be seen very well in videoing and filming, and so I decided to show you with this cream color so that you can see what I'm doing and how to put the squares together. So for the 4th row, you would do it exactly the same no matter what color you've chosen for your main color for the trim of your granny squares. We've added our color in like we usually do. You can see I've got all of my strings on the back because that's going to be my back. We're going to do this exactly the same. We're going to go in and chain 3 and stitch 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space. And chain 2. Now this 4th row is really just like the 3rd row. The only difference is you have 2 chain 2 spaces instead of just the 1. So we'll do the corner the same. And remember, make sure you do this in black if you want it to have the vintage color, or you can choose any color to be your main color for your scarf. Chain 2, and now we come to this side and we have 2 chain 2 spaces, so we're going to chain 2 like I just did, and we're going to put 3 double crochets in the chain 2 space and chain 2. We put 3 double crochets in that first chain 2 space on this side, then we chain 2, and then we'll put 3 double crochets in this next chain 2 space. And chain 2. Then we're back at the corner, and we'll do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And chain 2. And that's how that side will look, only in black, of course. All right, so we're going to repeat on this side exactly what we did on this side. we're going to put 3 double crochets in the chain 2 space and chain 2. Then we'll put 3 double crochets in the next chain 2 space and chain 2. Then we'll do a corner in the corner of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Now we're going to chain 2 and again repeat what we did on this side. 3 double crochets, chain 2, then 3 double crochets and chain 2. So there's that side. Now we're back to the corner. And chain 2. Now you'll notice that we're back to this first side. We joined here and we did one set of 3 double crochets, chain 2. So we're just going to do one set in this chain 2 space of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, and then we'll join again to the top of our chain 3 like we've done in every row with a slip stitch. And then we'll cut our yarn. Alright, so now we have a lot of ends to weave in. And like I said, you need to determine which side you want to be your front and then pull all your strings to your back. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that string and tie off to the back. Make sure that's snug down nice. And then we need to weave in all these ends. Alright, so let's grab our needle, and I like to start in the center and work my way out. And I know this is a lot of ends to weave in, but I like to finish a granny square and go ahead and weave those ends in. If not, it will get away from you and you'll have a ton of them to do. So I'm just going around this circle and I'm pulling on that string a little bit and it closes up that hole. It's up to you how tight you want that. And then I'm just going to go back the way I came and snug that down. Alrighty, and then the next one is here. And one thing, when you're doing something that has a lot of colors, make sure that you weave those ends in the portion of the same color, because you don't want some of the orange to be showing through on, say, the blue or the yellow. So you just go one way then the other, go through stitches and fibers of the yarn until you're comfortable. I try to do 2 or 3 of those, moving one way then the other. Alright, so now I've got this blue one, and I'll do the same thing. And you just work your way up until all of your ends are all neat and tidy. So the ends of my granny square are all neat and tidy, and I'm ready to put them together into a scarf. Now, if you're going to be making the scarf, you're going to need 12 of these squares because they're 5 inches across, and you'll need 12 to make a 60-inch scarf. Now, if you're making it for a child, you can make it smaller, or if you like really long scarves, you can add as many squares as you like. Alright, so let me show you how we put them together. What I do is I put the backs together with the fronts facing out. And I'm doing this one with a black and a white. I want you to be able to see the white going through the stitches here, or cream color. So you're going to start in the corner and put your hook through the 2 stitches on this side and the 2 stitches on this side. You're going to pull that yarn through. Make sure you get your working yarn and make just a little chain 1 there, just as a stay stitch. And now we're going to single crochet across, going through both sides. So we'll go in that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both. And we'll do this working all the way across, going through both sides of the granny squares because we're sewing them together. Another way that you can put them together is the whip stitch, and you would just thread some yarn on your needle and whip stitch them together. I just prefer, and it's just my preference, to do a single row of single crochets. Just like this, stitching them together. Now, if you're doing, of course, all black, this row is going to be black as well. I'm just showing you with the cream so you can see how it looks. I've tried and tried in the past to video using black yarn or even navy blue, and it just doesn't film well. So I'm just working across. When you come to the chain 2 space, you can just go through that top loop and not go all the way around if you want to. It's kind of a preference of how you do that. And you'll go all the way across until you get to that corner. You'll have that row of single crochet. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. There we go. Leave myself enough to weave in. And this is really important that you get these ends weaved in well because you don't want your scarf to fall apart. All right, so I'm going to open this up. This is the front of your scarf. Your crochet, single crochets are on the front of your scarf. So you'll need to take your needle and you'll thread those ends on, both ends. You'll go through to the back and then you'll just weave that in. And I go down again. Whoops, came off my needle. There we go. And then I go to that next stitch and turn around and come right back up. And if I have enough yarn, I'll go back and do that again. That one's too short, so I'll go ahead and clip it. And we'll do this one. All right. So we're going to come through from the front to the back. We're going to go through those stitches, just a few stitches, 3 or 4. Go up to the next stitch, go back. And I've got enough yarn on this one, so I'll just do that again. Just go back. And then I usually take it and give it a little bit of a stretch. And that's how the front should look. Now remember, this one's all done in cream, and yours will be done all in the same color. Now you can choose to do the outside edges of all of your squares in cream if you want, but if you want the vintage look, you need to go with the black. So what if I want to use my vintage squares to make a blanket or something else, say placemat or table runner? All you need to do is determine the size. Remember, each square measures 5 by 5 inches, and you can determine how big you want your table runner or blanket from those. Now, what I do when I'm going to make a long project like a blanket is I will stitch across the length of the amount that I need. Say I need 12, I want it 60 inches long, and so I need 12 squares. So then I'll put those 12 together. Then I'll do another set of 12 so that I have 2 rows. Then, move that out of the way there. Then I'll take those 2 and I'll put them together like this, and I'll stitch all the way down the edge, sewing them together. And it's a really neat project. And I have one of these going all the time because I have lots of leftover yarns. And the vintage look is to have lots of different colors with a basic trim color that's the same. So you can make a scarf, a blanket, a table runner, a lapgan. This is a great way to use up your scraps, make a lapgan, and then donate them to nursing homes, or you can also donate them to dog rescues because they're always needing little blankets for dogs that come in. And so it's just a really fun, great pattern to do. It's easy and colorful. So this is my vintage granny square scarf that you can make into just about anything that you would want to.